Hello and welcome to another episode of the Falkirk Community Trust Us podcast. I'm your host today, Pete McDougall, alongside my Active Schools colleague Innes Paterson. Hello Innes.
Hi everyone.
We're delighted to be joined by a very special guest. She's been streamed all the way in from Nethy Bridge. We've got professional golfer touring on the Tartan Pro Tour at the moment. It's Hannah McCook.
Hiya. Thanks.
How are you, Hannah?
Yeah, all good, thank you. All good.
Good. And as we said in the introduction, you're touring on that Tartan Pro Tour. How's that been going for you?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, obviously with everything that's been going on this season, it's been a bit different. And I do have status to be playing in Europe, but to be honest, I didn't feel comfortable and travelling away and playing there. So the Tartan Tour has been great. I mean, Paul and the guys have set that up pretty quickly considering everything that was going on, and had played in all those events, and we've still got a couple more in the next few weeks. It's definitely kept us rolling into the darker nights as well, which is good.
Brilliant. And that's a tour where men and women compete alongside each other. How do you find that aspect of the tour?
It's good. To be honest, I actually feel like I've been back being a junior again. When I was when I was growing up in the Highlands and playing in Nethy Bridge and Granton on Spey, it was me and the boys anyway. So, you know, you play off different tees slightly further forward, and so you almost sometimes feel like you're playing a pro-am format, that you're like, oh, my turn, I'll walk in and play now. But it's good to see how the guys play, and their standard of golf is so good anyway, no matter what tour they play on. So to pick up things from them and see how they do, I've enjoyed every minute of it, actually.
Great.
Hannah, just when I was doing a wee bit of reading prior to the interview, we do a wee bit of research on this show, believe it or not. I discovered that you've got your type 1 diabetes, and you've spoken about it quite openly in other interviews and things like that. Can you tell us what impact this has had on you as a professional athlete?
I mean, I'd like to say it has no impact. I always try and tell people that it just kind of lives there with us rather than us living with it. And I mean, it doesn't affect me in ways that other conditions or illnesses or whatever can affect me. I can still do whatever I want and eat what I want technically, as long as I prepare for it and take insulin for it and understand how I'm feeling, then I can do anything. But I guess it's just more preparation. I don't, like mark my golf balls in the morning and all this. I've got to make sure I've got extra food and blood sugar testing things and all that to go with it. So there's a little bit more to think about, but still, thankfully I'm in a sport that I can carry everything with me. I'm not running an Ironman or something where I'm like, where's my supplies? They're all in my bag there with me. So the preparation on that front is quite easy.
Yeah, and when you were growing up playing golf, I think you've spoken previously about Sir Steve Redgrave being a big inspiration to you, because I think he's somebody that shares that condition.
Yeah, I was diagnosed at the age of 8, and I was lying in hospital in Inverness, and I didn't speak to my parents for maybe 2 days, and they were like, what are we going to do? So they Googled diabetic sports person, found Sir Steve Redgrave, and I'm like, well, he's my twin. And then
Doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely. If he can do what he did with diabetes, then I'm pretty sure anyone can do what they wanted. So I've always just kept him as an inspiration.
Brilliant. Well, Hannah, you've been playing golf all around the world. Might be a tough question, but if you could pick a favourite place to play or a favourite course, where would it be and why?
Well, it's a tough question. That's probably harder than any other question, to be honest. I mean, I have been to pretty much every continent apart from Australia, so there's a few golf courses to pick from, but to be honest, I'm going to sound really biased anyway. I don't think it gets much better than playing golf in Scotland. I mean,
I knew you'd say that, the home of golf. I knew you'd say that.
Yeah, there's so much variety of golf courses here that you can play one course and then travel 5 miles and you've got something completely different. So I'm being from the Highlands. Royal Dornoch and Castle Stuart are amazing. I love being up there in the Highlands playing there, and I'm actually attached to Glen Eagles now, so I mean, getting to practice and play there every day, I'm pretty spoilt, to be honest. So apart from those, I could play those 3 places every day of the week and I'd be quite happy for the rest of my life, I think.
Brilliant. And how do you prepare? I mean, you could be playing the same golf course for 4 days, but it'd be completely different conditions each day. How do you prepare for that?
you just got to take it as it comes, I guess. I mean, and the tournaments we play and every course is completely different as well. So you get to a course where we're competing and you do a little bit of practice in the putting green and you're like, all right, the greens are this pace today. So you've kind of just got to, I guess the more you do it, the more you get to acclimatise into where you are. So it's just the experience of doing that makes it a bit easier.
Hannah, both myself and Pete have recently taken up golf. I'll be honest with you, it's a decision that I'm regretting at the moment because it's such an incredibly frustrating game. What sort of advice would you have to anybody that's sort of coming into the game? And then on the back of that, what is it about golf that you love so much? Because I'm trying to find that just now.
I mean, I'm fortunate that I learned when I was a kid. I think that is, for any sport, is probably very important actually. You've got not more patience as a kid, but you know that, there's so many of you in the same position learning together that patience kind of comes quite naturally. So if you're an older person and you're just learning,
you try to say?
I'm just saying, I think if I was learning now, I would have lost the plot within like a couple of shots, so yeah, I mean, you just got to keep having fun though. I think if you're not enjoying it and you can't see any form of progression, that's going to get you down. So just enjoying and being out there with your friends is very important though. If you're having fun with the company you're with, I think you'll always enjoy doing it.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing for me is to finish my round with a good shot or a couple of good shots or something like that. I could be absolutely terrible for 17 holes, and then if I have a good 18th hole, then I leave quite happy and I'm ready to go again. So I think you're absolutely right about the enjoyment side of things, and as you touched upon, the social side of things as well is a big part of the game, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the amount of times that I try and practice or play with other people just to keep it interesting. I'm not saying it's boring, but it's, it can get quite tedious at times. So there's a bit of chat and a bit of banter if you're playing and not taking the rip out of each other, but being laughing and having a joke about it, then it definitely makes it a lot easier. And as you said, golf is that game that if you can hole a putt on the last green or hit a good shot, that you're going to be like, I'll come back tomorrow, I'll do it again. Yeah.
How does that work? Because you watch golf on telly, you watch your professionals, and you're playing around with maybe 4 other people and their caddies, or 3 other people, sorry, and their caddies. Do you have a bit of banter while you're going around? Is there that kind of, do you feed off each other? Are you offering a bit of advice, or?
I'm going to say it depends who it is. Some people, yeah, love a bit of banter, always have a chat, and there's some folk, I guess when you get to know people quite well, you know that, okay, it's going to be a pretty quiet day or whatever, so you've got to fill your mind with something else. But on the whole, there's definitely, everyone chats and has a good time and whatever, and you know the right times if someone's struggling to just leave them to it and not say anything to them and whatever. So, but for me, I enjoy having a chat. I mean, it's long enough, 4 hours being on your own, let alone no one speaking to you, so.
Right, we've got a new round for the first time. We've got a quick fire round. So I'm going to throw some questions at you. It's A or B choice, really. Okay. So we'll see how this goes. There's mostly golf related with a few curveballs in there. So Hannah, driver or irons?
Driver.
Pitching or putting?
I'm going to say pitching now because it's improved so much recently.
Nethy Bridge or Stirling?
Pete, that's a horrid question. Nethy Bridge now, but Stirling during those 4 years at uni.
Visor or cap?
Cap.
Hoodies on the golf course or no hoodies on the golf course?
Controversial.
I mean, I have absolutely no problem with hoodies on the golf course because I've actually worn one for a few years when I've been practicing in the winter. So I think if it's going to get younger kids in playing the game, then I have absolutely no objection to it. So hoodies, yeah.
Par 3 or par 5?
Par 5.
Chomps or fudges?
Chomps. Mm-hmm.
Practice round or driving range?
Practice round.
Red sauce or brown sauce?
red sauce. Brown sauce is horrid.
Front nine or back nine?
Depends on the day. Probably front, actually. Trying to get off to a good start.
And that's the quick fire round.
There we go.
I was going to say you got a few right there, but I guess it's up to you which ones you got right.
Chomps or fudges, what's your choice?
I think fudge for me.
Fudge.
With a
Yes.
cup of tea.
I'd go chomp, but you could really overcomplicate that question and chuck a curly whirly in there as well.
A curly whirly would probably top the tree out of all of them anyway. Yeah.
A curly whirly is similar to a chomp, really, isn't it?
Yeah, they're just very thin and curly.
Right, back to the golf. Hannah, you've secured your spot on the Ladies Scottish Open next year. What is the preparation in the run-up to that for you, and what is the goal for that competition?
Preparation will just be the same as any other tournament, to be honest. I mean, it's kind of different in golf that they've got majors and things, but it's not like we have to taper and peak for the odd 1 week in 4 years, you know. So every week is kind of similar anyway. So it's just making sure you feel comfortable with every department of the game and just going out and having some fun. And a goal for to be honest, I actually don't even know where the event is going to be next year. So if I could make the cut and feel like I'd played well, I'd be quite happy. Yeah.
Where would you like it to be?
A course I know well would be nice. I don't know, actually. If they took it back to, because it's generally at a links tournament now, if they went back north somewhere like Royal Aberdeen or Castle Stewart, then I'd definitely enjoy that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hannah, see sort of in the when we go back to March, April time, I think the sort of beginning of the first lockdown and all the golf courses were closed and stuff like that. How were you able to keep up your practice with golf? Because it's obviously a sport you have to practice so hard at. How were you able to keep things ticking over there?
Fortunately, where my house is in Nethybridge, it's actually, it sounds terrible, but it's in a corner of a field. So I was able to hit some irons up the field. Basically, I was hitting up to about a 7-iron up until about May time when the grass got too long and I got my dad's strimmer out and strimmed a patch in the field and came back down towards the garden. So I was getting some good looks from people driving along and things, but I was very lucky that I had the space to do that, or else I would have probably really struggled. But there's actually a 9-hole golf course across the road from me in Nethy, and that was torture seeing that was closed, but I could chip a ball from my garden onto it, and I wasn't even allowed to go on there, so that was painful. But thankfully I had the field.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping back to uni as well, Hannah, obviously we were on the same course, and part of that course was the sports psychology side of things. Do you take some of that into your game just now? Are you still doing some of those things?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of things that you learn it and you don't think you do it, but you do, the kind of like imagery and all that self-talk and all that stuff, and you sit and you think about it and then you just naturally do it anyway. So no, there's definitely aspects of it that I still use and need to work on probably, but yeah, it's always helpful.
Hannah, a big part of our job in active schools is obviously getting young people involved in sport and hopefully participating in sport for the rest of their life. Do you have any ideas as to how we could go about getting more young girls involved in golf? And it's a bit of a two-part question, and can you also tell us how you got involved in golf initially as well?
Yeah, I mean, I always think it's quite a hard one to try and get people, and especially girls, involved. But if there's some places that are fortunate enough that if there's a couple of them, then they'll kind of stick it out together. And I think it's important that there's girls are together practicing and playing and to see it. But I think it's also important that they're playing with the boys, to be honest. I mean, that's going to pull them along, and not saying that the boys are better, but they're definitely going to hit the balls further and all those little aspects. And if they're with their friends and they're learning a new sport, I'm sure they'd enjoy it. But I think the likes of seeing role models and things like that is, I mean, I'm not calling myself a role model, but you know, like there's definitely girls that are if girls can see them playing and where they've come from, that's definitely important as well. But to be honest, I was born in Aberdeen actually, and my mum and dad bought me a 7-iron and putter, and my brother and I went and played the par 3 course in Aberdeen, and then we moved to Nethy Bridge, and as I said, we're building a house opposite a golf course, and I just went out there every day basically and played with the boys, and that's how I started. And suddenly I got to the point and I was like, oh, I think I'm quite good at this, so I kept playing. So I was quite fortunate in that way, but there's definitely a lot of girls that have come through different routes than I have.
It's interesting you say that, because how many podcasts have we done now, Pete? We must have done about 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
And athletes from lots of different sports, lots of different backgrounds, and I think you're probably the third or fourth person I've heard say that participating alongside the boys is a really good thing for young girls as well. So it's interesting to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. It's just the fact that I was the youngest. There's my brother who's 2 years older, and then they were all a year older than him. So I was just like the little girl that came along by the side basically, and just kept playing with all of them, and they definitely pulled me along. I actually found a photo on my phone of myself when I was probably about 8 with a picture of all the guys at Nethy Golf Course just the other day actually. I was the one without any trophies, and I showed it to my boyfriend. I'm like, look at this, and he's like, yeah, but who's the one with the trophies now? And I was like, yeah, there's a good point. So I'll definitely use that picture at some point when I get a bit older.
Well, Hannah, thank you so much for joining us on the Trust Us podcast. You said there that you don't think you're a role model, but we think you are, and you being present and young girls seeing you out there playing and us having a chat with you today, hopefully will go some way in inspiring young girls to get involved in golf and in any sport that they choose. So we really, really appreciate your time, and we wish you all the very best for the rest of the season and for next year.
Thanks very much for having me. Thank you.
No problem.